The origin of the world. Gustave Courbet. The painting hidden from the public. Imagine a painting so controversial that, for more than a century, it remained largely hidden from public view. It passed quietly from one private owner to another. It was covered, concealed, protected from public eyes. Some people considered it shocking. Others called it obscene. But today it hangs in one of the world's most important museums. This is The Origin of the World, painted by the French artist Gustave Courbet in 1866. It is one of the most controversial paintings ever created. And its story is filled with mystery. Mystery about the woman in the painting. Mystery about the men who owned it. And mystery about why one image could remain so powerful more than 150 years after it was painted. To understand this painting, we must first understand Gustave Courbet. Courbet was not an artist who liked to follow the rules. In the 19th century, much of European art was still filled with gods, goddesses, ancient heroes, and idealized beauty. Artists often painted the world as they believed it should look. Courbet wanted to paint the world as it was. Real people, real bodies, real landscapes, real life. He became one of the leading artists of a movement known as realism. And for Courbet, reality did not always need to be beautiful in the traditional sense. It did not need mythology, did not need an excuse. It only needed to be true. In 1866, Courbet painted The Origin of the World. The title itself was profound. The origin of every human life. The beginning of our existence. Without saying a word, the title connected the female body with one of humanity's oldest questions. Where do we come from? But Courbet answered that question in a way that shocked his society. The painting did not offer a romantic story. There were no angels, no ancient gods, no flowing robes, no symbolic mythology to make the subject feel distant or safe. Instead, Courbet created an intensely direct image of the female body. For many people, this was too much. Nude paintings had existed for centuries. But artists had often protected themselves by placing the nude body inside mythology or fantasy. A nude woman could become Venus, or Diana, or a figure from the Bible. But Courbet's painting refused to create that distance. It confronted the viewer with reality, and 19th century society did not know what to do with it. The painting was originally created for a private collector. Its early owner was Khalil Bey, a wealthy Ottoman diplomat living in Paris who was known for collecting erotic art. The Origin of the World was not intended to hang openly in a public museum. It belonged to a hidden world of private collections. For years it remained behind closed doors. And that secrecy became part of its legend. Who was the woman? For a long time nobody knew for certain. One name was repeatedly mentioned: Joanna Heffernan, an Irish woman who was the companion and model of the American painter James McNeill Whistler. Heffernan had also been connected to Courbet during the time the painting was created. For many years, art historians wondered whether she might have been the model. But the mystery continued. Then another name emerged: Constance Cagnoz. She was a former dancer at the Paris Opera and later became associated with Khalil Bey's social circle. In recent years, evidence has strengthened the possibility that she was the woman behind the painting. A discovery involving old correspondence and the history surrounding Courbet's work helped bring her name back into the story. Yet even after new evidence appears, mysteries in art are rarely solved as easily as a detective story. The past does not always leave us a complete answer. Sometimes it leaves fragments. A letter, a name, a rumor, a missing record. And generations later we try to put the pieces together. But the mystery of the model is only one part of this extraordinary story. The painting itself continued a secret journey. After changing owners several times, it eventually became part of the collection of the famous French psychoanalyst Jacques Lacan and his wife, the actress Sylvia Butterly. Even then, it was not simply displayed openly. At one point it was hidden behind another work of art. Imagine entering a room and seeing an ordinary painting. But behind it was one of the most controversial paintings in history. The hidden image remained part of a private world. A secret inside a secret. Then, finally, after Lacan's death, The Origin of the World became part of the collection of the French state. In 1995, it was publicly displayed at the Musée d'Orsay in Paris. The painting that had spent so much of its life hidden could finally be seen by the public. But even in a museum, the controversy did not disappear. People continued to debate it. Is it art? Is it pornography? Is it both a masterpiece and a challenge? Why does it still make some viewers uncomfortable? These questions have followed the painting from the 19th century into the 21st century. Perhaps the answer lies in the fact that Courbet forces us to think about how we look at the human body. We often believe that art history is simply about beautiful paintings. But art can also make us uncomfortable, can force us to confront ideas we would rather avoid. It can expose the difference between what society accepts publicly and what it secretly desires. The origin of the world asks us to consider those contradictions. For centuries, the female body has been celebrated, controlled, hidden, idealized, and judged. Courbet's painting entered that long history with extraordinary boldness. It did not ask permission. It did not soften its subject. It did not hide behind mythology. And perhaps that is why it still has the power to disturb. But there is another way to see the painting. Its title is not simply provocative. The origin of the world is also philosophical. Every human being begins somewhere. Every king, every artist, every soldier, every scientist, every child. No matter how powerful or famous we become, our journey into the world begins with the same human reality. Perhaps Courbet wanted us to remember that. Behind the painting's scandal is a question about humanity itself. We are born. We live. We create rules about beauty, morality, and shame. And then we argue about the very origin that made our existence possible. More than 150 years later, Gustave Courbet's painting remains impossible to ignore. It has survived secrecy, private ownership, scandale, censorship, and generations of controversy. Today, visitors stand before it at the Musée d'Orsay. Some are shocked, some are fascinated, some turn away. Some stand quietly for a long time, but almost nobody remains completely indifferent. Perhaps that is the true power of great art. It does not have to make everyone comfortable. It does not have to make everyone agree. Sometimes its greatest power is simply to make us stop, to make us look, to make us question, and then perhaps to make us see the world differently. The origin of the world was hidden for generations. But perhaps its mystery was never only about the identity of the woman. Perhaps the greater mystery was us. Why do we look? Why do we turn away? Why does the human body still have the power to create beauty, shame, controversy, and fear? Courbet painted his answer in 1866. And more than a century and a half later, the world is still discussing the question.